Hey everybody, this is Perch. So by now you probably have heard the controversy over the anti-Semitic imagery that appeared in Immortal Hulk number 43. So in case you haven't, the basic summary is there's a panel in the comic drawn by Joe Bennett that basically has Joe Fixit, and he's in a jewelry shop and he's haggling for jewelry. And in the background of this counter, he's leaning over a counter. In the background, there's the glass front of the store. There's the window, and it's reversed because he's inside the shop and the window is facing out onto the street. You see Cronenberg, Cronenberg's jewelry, except jewelry is misspelled without the R. Without the W. So it basically says jewelry, jewelry. And then there is a star there that is the Star of David. And so basically this got rolled out on social media, and there was a lot of outrage about this. And part of the outrage for this is because, if I'm going to try and sort all these things together, one of the problems here, and one of the reasons why a lot of people are not accepting the apology that was made, is this isn't the first time that this has gone on. This has been, this has been a repeated pattern. To some extent. I don't know, pattern may be too full a word, but we had the issue with X-Men Gold a while back where he said we saw some anti-Jewish slogans and things that were in the background of the art. The artist was fired and taken off the book. And then there was this very strange that Joe Bennett had basically applauded or cheered an attack by a far-right journalist saying it should have been a punch instead of a slap. It was weird. So there's been some strange kind of comments that there was assault. There's assault of a gay journalist, Glenn Greenwald. Joe Bennett had basically said, you should have punched him instead of slapped him. And then Bennett deleted the tweet and he apologized for it. And then there was some nonsense where he seemed to be indicating approval for some transphobic comments on Instagram with some emojis, the laughing emoji. So there's been a strange little assortment of social media dust-ups with Bennett in the past. And so that and in general with Marvel Comics printing things that have an anti-Jewish slant. That's happened once before or maybe twice before, depending on how you look. The challenge is that, Bennett apologized, said that, first off, he's included references to famous horror directors, and David Cronenberg is one of them. And that is a true statement. That is factually true. There's been many references to various horror directors and writers and other things throughout the Immortal Hulk run that we've seen it. It's absolutely true. He said the misspelling on the window of jewelry instead of jewelry is an honest mistake. He was writing backwards. He said he spelled the words wrong. That's one where we don't know his heart, right? We don't know if we don't know. Could be, it would be an easy mistake to make. So that is true. It can also be a little Easter egg. He does like to put in a lot of Easter eggs into his books, as he admitted by referencing various horror directors and other things. The curious one is the Star of David. So he says, I have no excuse for how I depicted the Star of David. I fail to understand this troubling and offensive stereotype. After listening to you all, I now understand my mistake. Of the three ones, I get the Cronenberg. I think that's a non-issue. People are saying Cronenberg is reference to a Jewish name, but I mean, again, he's referenced a lot of horror directors, so I don't get that one. The spelling on the window could go either way. It could be a subtle Easter egg, could be just bad spelling, which also has precedent in Marvel Comics. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that both he can't spell properly and the editors can't also spell properly, so they didn't check it. But the Star of David's a weirder one because I don't know how, I don't quite get the kind of the apology or what was done there. I mean, that's clearly the Star of David. I don't know if he's saying he didn't realize that was a Star of David, or he didn't realize that haggling over money and Jewish things were a stereotype. Again, I find it hard to believe. That's a pretty, one of the common, that everybody knows that one. So again, we don't know what's in anybody's heart. Okay, and everybody is certainly entitled to make mistakes, and we make mistakes all the time. And whether somebody is truly a rotten person who's trying to sneak in, terrible things into a comic or not, we don't know. That's there's no way of, we can't read minds. We can only look at actions and behaviors and kind of what's going on. His history and some of the things he's done don't help him. That's not helpful to his cause. The other part to this that honestly is not getting nearly enough attention in my mind is there is a job in comics called the editor that is meant to look for this kind of stuff. And I think we have to ask the question, now that we've seen multiple mistakes like this, multiple things that have gone out into print, whether they're intentional or mistakes, we have to start asking the question, like, okay, is editorial understaffed? Are they not able to do the job they're hired to do? Because part of their job is to specifically look for things like this, catch it, and not let it go out to print, whether it's a mistake or whether the artist is up to shenanigans. But that's not happening. And I think there's a number of reasons why it's not happening. I think, editorial is overworked. I think that's true. I also think editorial gets people that they like on books. I think Joe Bennett is very much attached to this Immortal Hulk run. A lot of people like his work, and he's a primary character there, and people like him. So therefore, his work is not getting as much scrutiny. I think that's a fact. I think there's a difference between some unknown artist coming in, putting in pages that you want to look at, and say, Art Adams is doing some pages. Do you look as closely at Art Adams to make sure he's not, putting a penis on a belt buckle or something in the background of one of his images? You're not doing that. And I also guess that editorial is not pushing back on these things. Or editorial thought it would be a funny joke. We don't know that either. Again, who knows what's in the hearts of these people? But regardless of whether this is anti-Semitism or just bad spelling or general stupidity or whatever it happens to be, the person, I get that Joe Bennett can apologize, but honestly, I don't know what use his apology is. The people who should be apologizing as well as Marvel and their editorial group needs to say, hey, we screwed up. This is dumb. Now, Marvel said they fully acknowledged the mistake. They said it was missed on their side as well. They're not talking about the editorial process behind the mistake, which they need to. They need to be forthcoming about that, because it's not about, again, the anti-Semitic things. It's about quality control. What is your quality control? What are you doing? It's confusing. So Marvel says they're going to fix it in print and everything else. There was a brief moment of a mob on Twitter that wanted him fired and everything else, and they were outraged. Again, it's building on top of itself because of the comments about the gay journalist and the transphobic things on Instagram. I think it's that guy has a pattern, and so they're after him, and that's their right to do it. But once again, I think if you're focusing on Joe Bennett alone here, you're making a mistake, because the reality is there's mistakes, whether they're ugly, bigoted, racist mistakes, or whether they're honest mistakes, or whether they're, whatever they happen to be, they're still mistakes. And these continue to go out into comics on a regular basis. We continue to see basic quality control at Marvel and at DC get missed. And, on every level, that's unacceptable. When you're trying to push a book out at $5.99, it's not acceptable to have misspelled words. There's been a lot of misspelled and silly stuff within Marvel over the last year. And what's aggravating to me is you go on Twitter, somebody points it out, and if they respond to it at all, which lately they don't, the editor kind of laughs it off like, oh yeah, I was too busy that night. I'm like, yeah, I know you're too busy that night, because we see your Twitter feed and you're talking about, you're posting 500 tweets an hour about the election, or about some coffee you drank, or brown nosing up to some more popular creator, whatever else. You can't tell me you're too busy and you miss these spelling errors when you are super active on social media talking about BS that has nothing to do with your job. Maybe maybe a little bit less of that, and maybe you might catch some of these mistakes and they wouldn't go out to market. At the end of the day, whether you're outraged by this or not is certainly your choice. Again, we don't know in this art. We don't know if this was intentional or an honest mistake. Could go either way. I still don't. The Star of David being something he didn't realize that doesn't track. That one I don't get. But okay, I'm willing to believe that anything is an honest mistake. Sure. My question is, how are you going to fix the mistakes? Like, what is the process we're going to use? What's the quality control we're going to use to make sure this stuff doesn't happen? And until we start having that conversation, this all feels like useless noise on Twitter. Yes, everybody gets mad, and in a couple of days we get mad about something else, and life goes on, and mistakes keep getting made. And maybe they're these kinds of mistakes. Maybe they're bathtubs placed in front of doors. Maybe they're words misspelled. Maybe they're pages where the panel isn't printed correctly, or it's things are smudged up. I don't know. Just where is quality control in all this? That's my mind. What do you think? Was this a big deal for you? Are you furious at Joe Bennett? Angry at Marvel? Think this was no big deal? How do you feel? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Certainly follow me on social media, where I make plenty of mistakes of my own, but I admit them. Or any of that stuff's in the description. We haven't heard from Al Ewing about all this. Al Ewing, who's normally very outspoken about mistakes other people make, has not weighed in on this one. So, but who knows? We will see. Thanks for listening.